Let him laugh, let him weep, let him yell, let him sing. All they wanna say. Let him lay me traps and men to pray to Jehovah, me I pray. Let him laugh, let him weep, let him yell, let him sing. All they wanna say. Let him lay me traps and men to pray to Jehovah, me I pray. Let I be me instead of playing games. For chasing fame, let somebody spread the lack of flames. No,
living my life to the fullest and shout out my halala to the fullest. Let my lungs out. I'm still rising up to greater heights as long as
Hello, Bonjour and Banani. Welcome to Rise to Greater Heights Network, where you can turn your fears into greater success while seizing new opportunities. It is so significant to have a positive mindset, especially under these circumstances. So this network has the potential to completely revolutionize every aspect of your life and career. My name is Nompumelelo Rial Gonene. I'm going to be your host for today. So if you're watching us online, please feel free to put in the chat box where you're watching us from and what you hope to achieve from our podcast. Today, we are surrounded by greatness in the World Wide Web. We have amazing speakers who's going to share some nuggets on human rights, and we're going to be covering Articles 7 to 12. In Pennsylvania, we were supposed to have Bishop Sullivan, but unfortunately, he couldn't make it today. But in Colorado, we have Elaine Antonio Bordo, and in Louisiana, we have Dr. Wakine Tobin. So at this moment, I'll just let our speakers to introduce themselves. So you can go ahead, Elaine.
Hello, everybody. My name is Elaine Antonio Bordeaux. I'm a U.S. immigration lawyer. I'm in Colorado. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm going to be talking about Article 11 and 12 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Go ahead, Dr. Tobin.
He's not on.
Hello, everyone. My name is Workine Torben. I'm an assistant professor of microbiology and immunology, but I do work for human rights as well. So I'm very glad to be part of this today.
Thank you. Thank you. We really have amazing speakers today. So since this is a very, very sensitive subject matter, we have a disclaimer. Rise to Greater Heights Network is only here to provide information about human rights to the public. Legal information is not the same as legal advice as to the application of the law to an individual's specific circumstances. So we cannot offer legal advice in response to specific questions. So we strongly recommend that you contact your own lawyer if you need such help. So Elaine, I have a question for you. If you happen to have your own billboard, I know in that busy street of Colorado, one day we're going to see your billboard up there. What will your billboard say?
Okay, so if I have a billboard, it will say, I have a divine purpose.
I love that.
And can I explain it?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
I have a divine purpose. I am divine. I was created in the image of God. And I truly believe that if we know our true nature, which is God's nature, all the atrocities and injustices in the world will end.
I love that. I love that. How are you, Dr. Tobin?
I would say the Universal Declaration of Human Rights should be respected for the majority citizens of the Ethiopian Empire, the Oromos.
I love it. I love it, 100%. Wow, wow. So I think my billboard will be coming shortly. It's going to be the third billboard on your right when you just drive past the highway. So our first speaker will be Elaine Antonio Bordo. Elaine Bordo is a practicing U.S. immigration lawyer based in Colorado. She is admitted to practice law in New York and all over the U.S. for immigration cases. She received her Master of Laws from Loyola University Law School in New Orleans. She has represented hundreds of refugees and human trafficking victims in the United States. She is also an artist and is pursuing her Master of Fine Arts, MFA. She believes that human rights are spiritual rights which we inherited from the divine. So kings and queens, help me to welcome Elaine Antonio Bordeaux.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is attorney Elaine Antonio Bordeaux, and I'm a certified human rights educator, and I'll be talking about Article 11 and 12 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I'll be sharing my screen, if that's okay. And if we have time, I want to talk about some humanitarian reliefs available for survivors of human rights violations in the United States. Can I share my screen?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, you can go ahead.
All right. Okay, good. All right. So Article 11 and Article 12. So Article 11 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights speak about the presumption of innocence. So if a person is charged with a crime, that person must be presumed innocent until proven guilty. So the presumption is innocence, not guilty. And that this article also provides for the right to be afforded an opportunity to defend herself in a public trial. And we call that the right to due process of law. So I cannot be sentenced or punished without due process of law, because that will be a violation of my human right. I have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty in a criminal proceeding. This article also speaks about the internet. Well, I will talk about the International Criminal Court, but I want to go first to the second part of Article 11, which bans actually retroactive laws. Okay, no person can be charged for something that was not a crime when it was committed. So say yesterday I was walking in an alley, it wasn't a crime then. I cannot be charged, and then a law was passed today making that a crime. I cannot be charged for what I did yesterday when what I did was not yet a crime. Also, if there was that law, the penalty cannot be much harder than what was imposed when the crime was committed. I will be taking questions later on, but I just want to complete this presentation. Also in Article 11, which provides for due process of law, or the right to due process of law, even the criminals or the perpetrators of the most heinous crimes or the most serious violations of human rights are entitled to this right. And so that's why in 1998, 160 nations decided to permanently establish what we call the International Criminal Court. The International Criminal Court investigates and tries individuals charged with the greatest crimes of concern to the international community. And these crimes are genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and crime of aggression. Now, the International Criminal Court is not the one primarily responsible in investigating and trying these cases. The state has primary responsibility to try these cases. As of December of 2020, there are 123 member states that have signed up for the international participation for the International Criminal Court. So far, there has been 30 cases before the court. Also, the judges have issued 9 convictions and 4 acquittals in the International Criminal Court. So the International Criminal Court does not replace criminal justice systems, but it complements them. And this principle is called the principle of complementary. Now, as I said, the state retains the primary responsibility, but the International Criminal Court will come in when the state does not want to act on these human rights violations. So in cases when the country or the state will delay because the perpetrators were the leaders, the perpetrators were the military leaders, and they have absolute control of the state and the judicial system, the International Criminal Court may come in. Now, this is a permanent international judicial body, and this was established by the Rome Statute. Okay. But it can only, because it was only created and it can only take jurisdiction over crimes that occurred from 2002 onwards. There's even a trust fund for victims of violations of human rights under the Rome Statute. Okay, so for the next article, I'm going to be taking questions later after this. For Article 12, this is very, very important. Article 12 provides about the right of everyone if somebody tried to harm your name or your good reputation. If somebody tried to come to your home, invade your home without your consent, or attack or even interfere with your correspondence or communication. That can be a simple examples of this article, encompass. But when it comes to the digital, social media, internet, the right to privacy can be very, very abstract. In fact, many individuals are not aware that whatever they're surrendering online to social media. And in fact, in 2018, there was a report that some 87 million social media users discovered that they have been turned into a commodity when their browsing history, when their opinions were analyzed and actually sold for profit. So a lot of people have considered that a violation of their human right to privacy. There was also a study by the UN Commissioner on Human Rights UN High Commissioner for Human Rights in 2018 that governments in every region are also using digital surveillance tools to track down and target human rights defenders. So what we must do is to be involved to make sure that our privacy, whether digital or non-digital, is preserved and respected. Do I still have time for the humanitarian reliefs? So I can go on. Okay, so in the United States, I'm a practicing US immigration lawyer. I've been practicing for more than 10 years. And we have humanitarian reliefs under our immigration law for non-citizens of the United States. And these are the asylum, the temporary protected status. Recently, President Biden designated Venezuela for TPS, as well as for Burma because of their political crisis. We also have the U visa for victims of serious crimes and T visa for victims of or survivors of human trafficking, sex trafficking and labor trafficking. We also have the VAWA for battered spouse, fiance, battered spouses or fiancé and victims of domestic violence. These are the humanitarian immigration reliefs available under immigration law in the United States. So that's my presentation. You have any questions?
I do.
Sure.
I think she's muted. Let me hear her first.
Yes, you can go ahead, Dr. Torben, and ask the question.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. You mentioned about ICC, and I want to ask you about the accident, the horrifying accident that happened in Yemen very recently. about 500 people were burned in prison, and those victims were the Oromos, the citizens of Ethiopia. So who do you think will be responsible for that? The Yemen government or the Ethiopian government?
So in that situation, I need to get more information about that. But what I can say with ICC as the International Criminal Court, if there's a serious, they will investigate if there were claims and report made of serious violations of human rights. I do not have the exact facts about this particular incident, but it can be investigated. It has to be reported. ICC try individuals, not the government. So if there are individuals who can be president, leaders, military, but they do not try the government, and there's got to be an investigation. And if the state has the primary responsibility to try the individuals in this serious human rights violations, if the state does not act, then the International Criminal Court may investigate and try these individuals responsible.
Yeah, they were trying to save their life because they are terrorized in Ethiopia. So they were trying to save their life, but the Yemen government put them in prison and then burned them in the prison facilities. And that was so horrifying human rights violations. And I hope the international community will address that kind of absolute inhumanity against human beings. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Elaine, and thank you so much, Dr. Torren, for asking such questions. Yeah, we're gonna have enough time, like at the end, to ask questions, answer questions, because I know our viewers, they really have many more questions to ask. And Elaine, if you can just stop sharing your screen so that
I'm so sorry.
I know I always forget doing that. Yeah, thank you so much. And you've also explained the meaning of the no ex post facto law in criminal law, and you've also gone into details on why was the International Criminal Court of Justice created, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for sharing such a timely message, Elaine. So our next speaker is going to be Dr. Workiner Torben. Dr. Workiner Torben is an assistant professor of microbiology and immunology. He has published over 33 scientific articles. He is also a certified human rights consultant. Dr. Workiner Torben is the founder of Horn of Africa Genocide Watch and the VHA Voice for the Voiceless. So kings and queens, help me to welcome Dr. Workiner Torben.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak. And to start my talk, I'm gonna share my screen. Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine.
All right, thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Let's do that. Okay. So my name is Workiner Torben Kai, and originally I'm from Ethiopia, Oromia. I'm assistant professor of microbiology and immunology, and I'm also the founder of Horn of Africa Genocide Watch and the voice of the voiceless for the Horn. My talk today is about human rights, and I'll be primarily focusing on the chronic human rights violations against the majority citizens of the Ethiopian Empire, the Oromos. And if time allows me, I'll also touch few things about other victims in the empire For example, I may touch about Tigray, Kimant, Benishangul, Sidama, Ago, Gambela, Somalia, and so on. To start my talk, I'm going to ask, who are the Oromos? The Oromos are originally from the Kush line, and they are one of the largest citizens of the Horn of Africa. As you can see on the right, the Cushitic, that includes the current Sudan, Eritrea, the Ethiopian Empire, Djibouti, Kenya, all the way down to Zimbabwe. So currently, there are about 2/3 of the current Ethiopian Empire. Ethiopia has approximately about 110 to 20 million population. And the Oromos are about 50 to 60 million, and they live in the Oromia. Okay, you can see on the bottom, you can see part of the empire that is called Oromia. And if the Cushitic lines like Ago, Kimant, Sidama, Gurage, Benishangul, Somali, and others included, these Kush are about 100 million in that empire. Oromos still speak their own language. It's called Afan Oromo. Others, I mean, these Ago, Kimant, Sidama, and those who are in Kush, they are successfully forced to be Amaranized, which means they speak other language like Amharic. Until the Semitics, on the top, you can see, invaded their land. The Oromos had the oldest democratic governing system that is called Gada. And if you want to know more about Gada, you can read UNESCO 2016. They have put all the facts and the importance of this old democratic leadership for the entire world. They were democratic even before the world knew what democracy was. They practiced 3 major religions: Christian, Muslim, and Waqf. And the Waqf, they believe in one God. That means they are Christians as well. So, unfortunately, all the international, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and including all what Ilan talked about, are not respected for these large citizens in the whole. For the last 150 years, the tyrants of Ethiopia built structural and systematic marginalization strategies against the Oromos. And for that reason, almost all the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is violated against these people. For example, they are not free, or they are not considered equal to the Semitic origins, especially the Amaras. That means their Article 1 is violated. They are completely discriminated in that empire. Article 2, they are daily killed by the lawless government. Article number 3, they are systematically enslaved. Their properties are taken away, their land. Sometimes if one of them work hard and get more money and more companies, then they will be taken away. The government will take away their property. And Oromos are being tortured today. Article number 5. There is 0 rights for these people in the entire empire. Article number 6. They are never be considered equal before the legal system of that empire. Article number 7. There is no legal system to protect them. A police officer can kill them, the military can kill them, the gangs, the mobs can kill them. Nobody cares about these large citizens of the Horn of Africa. Thousands are unfairly detained today. If you might have heard about this, today, as we speak, up to 100,000 Oromos are in prison. They are being tortured by the Ethiopian Empire. Article number 9. There is zero fair trials for Oromos. Anyone can capture you and put in jail. And sometimes the legal system can make them free because there is nothing that they can find, but the police officers who can put them in jail. We have seen this many, many times. And they can be just guilty just for being Oromo, just for the way God made them, that they are Oromo, but that is considered like criminal. No legal proof needed. Just for being Oromo, they would put them in jail. Article number 11. Military can invade their home anytime, in any part of the empire. Article number 12. They are incredibly discriminated. Article number 14. Government can take their properties. For example, recently we have heard about a rich man in that empire. They took all his properties. Article number 17. Zero freedom of thoughts for Oromos. Article number 18. Zero rights to express themselves. Article number 19. No assembly rights to choose and rights to choose. And sometimes they are forced to become camouflaged to serve as puppets, tools for the terrorist leaders of the empire. Article number 20. There is no democracy. And especially, as I mentioned, they had the Gada system, which is the oldest democratic leadership. And that is being replaced by fakes, camouflage. Article number 21. There is zero social security for entire Oromos, and there is bad curriculum, or there is limited education for the Oromo children today. Article number 26. Their human rights are completely taken away. Article number 30. So you can imagine almost all the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is denied for these large citizens. And for that reason, the Horn of Africa has no peace, has no security, and human being is not considered like human. Anyone can kill somebody. And the Universal Declaration of Human Rights must be respected in the Ethiopian empire. And if they fail to respect those rights, and the empire will keep failing, and ultimately it will be like Somalia. It's already like Somalia. For example, the world has been stunned by the recent horrifying war crimes, human rights violations, and ethnic cleansing in Tigray region of the Ethiopian empire. And we also watched multiple massacres against Oromos, Kimant, Benishangul, Gambela, Sidama, and today, Wollo, part of Oromia, is burning. They are burning in their homes. The government is burning in their homes. We still see eminent systematic massacre plans and progressive genocide against Oromos and several minority citizens of the Ethiopian empire. And I want to share a very interesting thing what the leader of the empire recently said. And he's planning to eliminate these people. They are Oromos and they are OLF. And he said, I want to eliminate OLF. I can share with you the video of what he said. Can you hear it?
Al-Shabaab and OLF from this region.
Abao shororkeessummaadhaan ramaduun
Let me
yaalii kanaan dura
let me try it again.
It's playing.
akeekuun dogoggora seenaati.
Because peace is a foundation for everything we are aspiring to transform the life of our people. If we could eliminate Al-Shabaab and OLF from this region.
Abao shororkee
So imagine, he called them OLF. OLF means the entire Oromos. And he's planning to eliminate them. And imagine what kind of peace he's trying to make in that empire. But the fact is, he cannot eliminate 60 million Oromos or their political parties, OLF and OFCs. Okay? And these dangerous leader and his barbaric Amhara militia are currently accused by the international community, US, UN, and European Union, for three major facts. They have committed war crimes, there is a dire human rights violation, there is ethnic cleansing, and he just rejected the American proposal to stop using the Eritrean troops and the Amhara militia, who are now more dangerous than Al-Shabaab. So if you want, I have more to share, but I'll just go ahead and stop my talk here. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Dr. Torben, thank you so much for sharing such a timely message. Like to get to know on what's happening in Ethiopia, it just opens our eyes. You've mentioned that we must be courageously speaking about the bigger picture of chronic issues on human rights violation. And I thank you for that. Thank you for sharing such a timely message. And the world is just watching out there. The world is watching. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So the next speaker is going to be myself. Like, if there is anything I hate in this world, I know hate is a big word, but I hate reading my own bio. I just hate it. But I'm here today. I'm just going to read my own bio. Anyways, most of you already know that my name is Rial Kunene. I am an energetic professional speaker. I am the author to Rise to Greater Heights book, which is a comprehensive guide to turn your fears into greater success while seizing new opportunities. I am also a mentor and a coach well known for encouraging many to rise from mediocrity into greatness. I believe that we're in full control of our own choices, so my title, Rise to Greater Heights, has inspired and empowered many to pursue their personal and professional passion to become go-getters. So as I wear many hats as a certified professional sales manager, esthetician, certified travel counselor, commissioner for oath, human rights analyst, and an international diplomacy and protocol officer. Following my dreams, it gave me to see my goals through. It gave me a reason to see my goals through and understand that I do have everything around me to reach to my full potential. My everyday message is that your journey to be a better person starts with you. So knowing who you are to your core will make you understand that you have everything around you to reach to your full potential. Hebrews 11, Psalms 27, and Psalms 40 keeps me to rise to greater heights. So to all viewers online, please feel free to put in the chat box if you have any questions for any of the speakers today, and we're going to attend to your questions at the end of the podcast. But before I continue, I just want to double check if I'm in the right platform here. How many of you, with a raise of hand, can say that, Riel, I have never, ever complained in life? Never, ever complained in life. Seemingly I'm in the right platform, because, you know, sometimes in life we go complaining about everything. Or the weather is really bad today. Traffic was worse than expected. My family drives me crazy sometimes. Or the movie was really disappointing. You name it. Though whining can be a way to build an inspiration, it can also keep us from acting. And it gives excuses time to procrastinate from achieving goals. One thing I've realized is that we usually complain in the wake of a negative situation, and we tend to focus more on the problem than finding potential solutions. It is always much easier to complain than to find a solution. And individuals who whine on a regular basis, they're apt to have a bad health. So next time I'll find you complaining that, why do pizzas come in square boxes? Yet they're round. And funny enough, they are cut in triangles. Does that sound like you? Yeah. Please write this down. What are human rights? What are human rights? You really don't have to be politically involved to know about your human rights. All human beings are entitled to them, and you can never, ever be excluded from them. As flight attendants always say that put on your oxygen mask first before you assist others. Because if you don't, you and the other person could possibly go down. So it is your time to gain more knowledge on human rights today. And we have amazing speakers who have already shared more information on human rights. To me, it was the death of George Floyd that made me to realize that we need to stand for a world where no one shall live in fear because of their skin color and where the criminal justice system treats everyone fairly and equally. On May 25th last year, George Floyd died in police custody in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This 46-year-old Black man was arrested and killed after a convenience store employee called 911 with Floyd's suspicion on passing a counterfeit $20 bill. The video that was captured by a bystander shows George Floyd pinned face down on the ground in handcuffs and one of the police officers kneeling on his neck as he pleaded for help. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And finally, he fell silent. May his soul rest in eternal peace. It is so impossible not to be outraged watching that video of that Minneapolis officer pressing his knee against Floyd's neck for a period initially reported to be 8 minutes and 46 seconds. I believe that everyone is born free and has the right to life. So no one should ever be subject to such unjustified violence. Hence today we are here to educate everyone on their human rights. So good people, this is a wake-up call. This is a wake-up call to be a voice to those who doesn't know their human rights. But when that alarm clock goes off, please don't ever hit the snooze button. Don't be like, I will wake up in the next 2 minutes. I will wake up in the next 4 minutes. You know what? Forever is a long time. Why don't you just wake up, get going, know your human rights and make a difference in your community? In Article 7, like Dr. Tobin mentioned, that all are equal before the law and are entitled without any discrimination to equal protection of the law. All are entitled to equal protection against any discrimination in violation of this declaration and against any incitement to such discrimination. You know, access to justice is a vital human right, and Article 8 makes a bill of attainder an illegal act internationally, which protects all people from punitive treatment without a fair trial. This article highlights the importance of access of justice subject for pro bono lawyers, which requires that everyone have a means to file an effective grievance against the abuse of constitutional rights. Barriers to a fair public hearing are contrary to human rights as described in the declaration, since this doesn't appear to be something that is a right available to everyone. Some countries like Canada, for example, have human rights commission to which any resident of Canada may file a grievance. But in some, there is no free service available to any person, rich or poor, which can address human rights abuses. In a free country, a state's universal access to justice program typically allows a citizen to have a tribunal which will hear human rights grievances. In addition to these agreements and declarations, the right to counsel provided through government legal aid is not recognized in all jurisdictions. Where it is recognized, the importance of pro bono counsel is obvious, which takes the form from the provision of legal aid that can assist with the costs associated with legal representation and court costs. I so wish that you can just tell yourself that, you know what, as the speakers have already shared this knowledge, I'll have to make a difference. I'll have to make a difference in my community. I'll have to make a difference within myself, like gain that knowledge. But in order for you to make that difference, you've got to be hungry. You've got to be hungry like the hungry lion in the jungle. That hungry lion in the jungle, it doesn't matter what kind of animal comes this way. It doesn't matter if you're that giant elephant by the jungle or that small squirrel. All that hungry lion sees in front of his face is lunch. Lunch to that lion. And it's so funny because even with elephants, it's all about the mindset. Once you believe, you become. They told themselves already that I am a lunch to that lion. So each and every time when I see a lion, I have to run. I believe that's the mindset that we need for us to know more about human rights and share more knowledge on human rights. In Article 9, it mentions that no one shall be subjected to arbitrary arrest, detention, or exile. Everyone has the right to liberty and security of person. No one shall be subjected to arbitrary arrest or detention. No one shall be deprived of his liberty except on such grounds and in accordance with such procedure as are established by law. So you can see that all countries are confronted by the practice of arbitrary detention. It knows no boundaries, and thousands of people are subjected to arbitrary detention each year. Since detention in itself is not a violation to human rights, international law has progressively endeavored to define the limits beyond which a detention, whether administrative or judicial, will become arbitrary. So good people always seek passion, always seek passion. Try by all means to get familiar with human rights. You know, it's so funny how my mom and dad gave me this beautiful name, Nompumelelo. Nompumelelo, in my own language, it means mother of success. So you can really see that I have a challenge to chase after success to make a difference out there. In Article 8, it says, everyone is entitled in full equality to a fair and public hearing by an independent and impartial tribunal in determination of his rights and obligations and of any criminal charge against him. Although it is so difficult to remain unbiased when a terrible crime has been allegedly committed, but this article mentions that everyone is entitled in full equality to a fair and public hearing by an independent tribunal. This article also mentions that a jury must evaluate a given situation independently from their personal beliefs of a certain individuals in the determination of that individual's rights and obligations. Honestly, this is something I know many of us were not aware of. Really, you don't have to see the whole staircase in life, but you have to take the first step to get to the top, to get to know what's happening around human rights. As my mentor always say that you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to become great in life. So at a glance, Article 11, it means that you cannot be charged with a criminal offense until proven guilty, like Elaine said. This is a fundamental element of fair trials and the rule of law, which says that the public authorities must explain clearly what counts as a criminal offense, so you know when you are breaking the law. This is a concept everyone can understand, which is also against the law for the courts to give you a heavier punishment that it was available at the time you committed that offense. Even though the right to not, even though the right to no punishment without law cannot be restricted in any way, international courts were developed with the power to hold individuals accountable for the most heinous crimes known to humankind. As my everyday book says that, learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless, plead with the widow's cause. So in Article 12, the first pronouncement of the right to respect for privacy is essential to autonomy and the protection of human dignity. Privacy enables us to create barriers and manage boundaries to protect ourselves from unwarranted interference in our lives, which serves as the foundation upon which many other human rights are built. The right to respect for privacy mirrors the liberal concept of the individual's freedom as self-governing being, which allows us to negotiate who we are and how we want to interact with the world around us. By any measure and complexity of the challenges companies face to respect the human right to privacy is growing substantially. That is violated when states prohibit actions that essentially only concern the individual, such as not wearing safety equipment at work. The right to privacy helps us to establish boundaries to limit who has access to our communications and information. Today, the right to respect for private and family life has come to encompass a wide range of areas by reducing what can be known about us and done to us while protecting us from others who may wish to exert control. So honestly, I would like to encourage everyone today to get to know your human rights. It's so funny, when I was in the 8th grade, I will just cut this story short. When I was in the 8th grade, I was nicknamed Phoenix. I was nicknamed Phoenix after writing a composition with the idiomatic expression that says, I rose from the ashes like a phoenix bird, meaning I became successful again. For those of you who doesn't know the phoenix bird is a Greek mythological bird believed to rise from its own ashes after being buried hundreds of years ago. This immortal creature, it acquires new life by rising from the ashes of its own ancestor, which represents to us our capacity of vision and success. And it's so funny because my English teacher, she didn't know that nickname Phoenix, it resonates with my life, and it also aligns with my destiny. So when your world comes crashing down, wear your scars to show how a phoenix feels like to die from inside, and trust in your own capability to rise from your own collapsed rooms. Since the phoenix bird has to die first, experience pain, burn before resurrection from its own ashes. In conclusion, I just wanted to write this down. Resilience to greatness. Resilience to greatness. If I can be honest with you, I don't know what goals you've set maybe for the next 6 months. But here is one thing I know about you. You are destined for greatness. Inside of you, God has put seeds of excellence. Those seeds are supposed to grow and flourish. But many people have become crippled by their past encounters, and some have stepped over other people to get to the top. But I believe that God has better plans for every one of us. Your objective is what you were designed for and the reason why you live today. With God, I believe that we're all destined for greatness as long as we follow His strategy. This is when the growth commences, because discovering your gifts and following God's idea will make you realize that you have everything around you to reach to your full potential. My everyday inspiration, Mr. Les Brown, he once said, if you had to die today, at this very moment, at this hour, what dreams, what ideas, what visions, what goals, what skills, what talents, and what books will die with you? And he also continued that the richest place on this planet is the cemetery, because that's where all the dreams, all the visions, all the goals, all the skills have been buried. I really don't know about you, but with me, listening to this message, it gave me sleepless nights. And I am really, really proud today to introduce Rise to Greater Heights book before you. This is a comprehensive guide to turn your fears into greater success while seizing new opportunities. It is so significant to have a positive mindset, especially under this COVID-19 pandemic. So this book has the potential to completely revolutionize every aspect of your life and career. And by the way, the legend himself, Mr. Les Brown, he wrote the foreword in this book. And you can get this book for a family member or a loved one who just need that inspiration to face the world with a positive mindset. And you'll be able to explore leadership, empowerment, being purpose-driven, mentorship, coaching, resilience to greatness, emotional intelligence, mental health, spiritual growth, and many, many more topics. And I also have a free transformation guide for you. It's available on my website, www.risetogreaterheights.com. You know what? Growing up, I didn't have much because my father decided to have an early departure from this planet Earth. But I had everything because of my mama's love. And I love you so much, Mom. So I think whosoever said that the sky is the limit was wrong. From today on, I, Nompumelelo Riel Kunene, believe that the sky is our point of view. So let's all rise to greater heights. Thank you. Thank you so much, amazing speakers, for being here with us today. So at this moment, just feel free to share your final thoughts to our viewers online on the topic for today, human rights. If you have any final thoughts that you just want to share with our viewers online, please go ahead.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Human rights are rights that we have by virtue of birth. So we're born with it. It doesn't matter what the law says. It doesn't matter what your country says about it. You have it as a human being. It's your power, it's your right, and you need to know it. You need to exercise it. And thank you very much for inviting me.
So nobody has question for me?
Yeah, I'm just checking the questions right now.
Okay.
I have Dr. Thorben, I have just a reaction on Ethiopia, because I just briefly looked, and Ethiopia has not ratified participation in the International Criminal Court. So I guess that's one of the things that we have to do as human rights advocates, to inform that Ethiopia should be a member of International Criminal Court in order for it to remove challenges on the court taking jurisdiction. That's just my comment.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, they knew what they are doing to the people. So that's why they don't want to ratify the law.
Yeah, it's a big challenge.
Yeah, and it's amazing. As you said, we have the human right when we are born, just for being human.
Yeah.
And by just taking away that right, leaders, especially in Ethiopia, they try to make peace. That is absolutely impossible. They took the right of that many people. It's not only the Oromos, actually, all of you, the world is talking about Tigray right now. They kill, they rape, they burn their houses, and they call the neighboring nations like Eritrea, and they looted everything they had. And they did the same thing to the Benishangul people. And yet they couldn't even keep the sovereignty of the nation. Sudan is way 50 to 60 miles inside Ethiopia right now. Eritrea is just way inside Ethiopia. They loot, they rape, they can take everything, including the doors and the house possessions, everything. So that is the kind of leaders we have. And yet they talk about peace, peacekeeping, and that is all fiction. And the main reason the international community cannot understand their strategy is that they use media, and the media talks about the opposite of facts. That's a preemptive strategy to silence the people. If a media, like if you go there and start talking about human rights, you will be in jail the next day. They don't want those who speak honestly about what is happening on the ground. So that is the problem. And that is what the world should address. And that is what the global community should think about. It's not about just one region. For example, my state is the biggest region, and the citizens of that empire is mostly in that state. But I don't want to talk about only Oromia. I want to talk about the region, the East Africa, the stability, the peace, security for human beings, just for human, for being human. They have the right to live. But that is taken away by the terrorist governments. And the US requested to remove the troops who are raping our people in Tigray and now in Oromia, and burning houses in Walaga and Wollo. And the leader, the prime minister of the empire, refused. And I think he's confident about the similar leaders like Russian leaders who are encouraging that kind of leaders in that part of the world. And they have very good relationship with Eritrea. Eritrea denied any law for human being. Human is just like a fly in that nation. They kill every day. So that is what we are talking about. And the world should consider the big picture. I hear mostly about Tigray because it is reported. That's great. But they have to talk about the whole package. What is happening? Why the TPLF, the former leaders in Ethiopia were dismantled because they violated human rights. And that's why people are saying enough is enough. And tomorrow they will keep saying enough is enough. For just being human, we need to live. So if somebody comes and try to hurt me, I should fight. So they will keep fighting. So to stop violence and insecurity and instability in the region, the US government, the European Union, the United Nations Security Council should respect the natural right of these people. That's what I want to add. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I hope we'll keep talking about these issues.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Torben. And thank you so much, Elaine, for to spare this hour to be with us today and share your knowledge. And it's so funny today, we don't have any questions from our viewers, but I believe that with all the information that has been shared here, our viewers have gained a lot. So thank you so much, amazing speakers.
Thank you.
To our viewers online, thank you so much for joining us today at Rise to Greater Heights Network, where you can turn your fears into greater success while seizing new opportunities. I hope you've been inspired and motivated and ready to rise to greater heights. Please do join us next week at the same time, same place. Thank you. Merci. Yabonga.
Thank you.
Let him laugh, let him weep, let him yell, let him sing. All in one I say. Let him lay me traps and men to pray to Jehovah, me I pray. Let him laugh, let him weep, let him yell, let him sing. All in one I say. Let him lay me traps and men to pray to Jehovah, me I pray. Let I be me instead of playing games. For chasing fame, let somebody sweat the lack of flames. No,
living my life to the fullest and shout out my halala to the fullest. Let my lungs out. I'm still rising up to greater heights as long as